It's snowing. That's news. It's been that long. Measles is on the march in Colorado. That's news because we had it under control for decades.
It's certainly a challenge that's been in place for years.
A state board hesitates to ban sugary drinks for SNAP recipients. That's news because the governor is really intent on doing it. And every Friday, whatever is good in the lives of your neighbors is also news.
My good news is I did 21 jump ropes in a row.
Because this isn't just the news, it's next. First time this winter, we are gathering by the fire to talk about the news. Just haven't had a snow day like this in so long. First day in 40 days, we have snow on the ground in Denver. Decent little dumping too, 4 to 5 inches downtown. So, of course, we're just going to be back in the 60s, though, by Monday. Still coming down in the foothills and in the mountains tonight, so ski traffic is going to be a mess. They got a foot on the peaks, a bit less in the valleys, except for right in front of the truckers who don't chain up. There's always lots of snow right in front of those fools. Let's bring in a meteorologist, Chris Bianchi. I mean, it's kind of sad to say because it's just a little dump of slush. But our biggest storm of the season in Denver so far?
Officially, yeah, exactly right, Kyle. Boy, I just want to be wearing sweatpants right now. This is that kind of snow event for us, that kind of slushy snow, 7.5 inches out at the airport officially. Now, Kyle said it a second ago, about 4 to 5 inches downtown. A lot of this snow has already melted off because those temperatures above freezing. The high sun angle means that as that snow was falling and accumulating, it was also melting at the same time. So it's kind of going up and down like this. But in the meantime, we got up to over 20 inches of snow so far this season. And so far today, the best takeaway from all this is that we picked up more than 0.4 of an inch of water. This is really good news here, folks. There's a lot of water within that snow, so this is definitely a drought denter. Not a drought buster, not even close, but this is going to put a dent in those recent drought conditions. You might remember that as of yesterday, we are now in Denver County under extreme drought conditions for the first time since February of 2022. So that is good news. Now, the low pressure center that's responsible for this, by the way, if you're wondering why we ended up with a bit more snow, honestly, then what I anticipated, what a lot of us anticipated, was that this low tracked a little further south and a little stronger than expected. And that pulled in just enough moisture to get us a bit on the higher side in terms of those snowfall totals. But that snow is winding down as we speak. And in general, those impacts are going to be fairly low over the next few hours. Thing to watch for will be some black ice tonight. That snow comes to a close from north to south. And as he said, Kyle, we're going to go right back to our regularly scheduled San Diego-like winter with temperatures back in the 70s Sunday and Monday.
Measles is back in Colorado like it hasn't been in decades, the entirely predictable consequence of vaccine misinformation and hesitancy. As more measles cases pile up connected to Broomfield High School, our Spencer Soysher looks at how historical outbreaks in our state actually helped researchers develop the effective vaccine schedule that's now under attack.
Measles outbreaks, like the ones tied to schools in Broomfield, are sort of new. New because until 2025, we hadn't had more than 2 measles cases in a year in Colorado since 1996. 36 last year, 8 already this year.
One of the changes that was made during the 90s that really did lead to a decline in measles cases and eventually measles elimination in the U.S., which was achieved in 2000, was adding on a second dose of MMR vaccination.
State epidemiologist Dr. Rachel Herlihy knows about Colorado's history of measles outbreaks before a second dose recommendation was added. We went into the 9 News archives to see what was in the news in 1988. That's when 84 cases of measles were identified at Fort Lewis College in Durango, a campus that required vaccination.
Obviously, I haven't spent probably as much time in the archives as you have, but yeah, familiar with that one.
CDC researchers found 0 cases in students who had 2 doses of the measles vaccine after they were a year old. The CDC formally recommended 2 shots of the MMR vaccine the following year.
So I think that did make a difference in boosting the level of immunity in communities and adding some protection.
But in 1994, 247 people contracted measles after someone infectious was at Breckenridge Ski Resort. The state said 61 cases are traced back to Colorado. By 1996, there were never double-digit measles cases in Colorado again, until this past year.
We have seen, like the rest of the country, a decline in MMR vaccination rates.
Colorado has one of the worst measles vax rates in the country, and 91% of Colorado kindergartners have gotten at least 1 dose of the MMR vaccine. That's below the herd immunity threshold of 95%. Health officials recommend that children receive 2 doses, with the first dose between 12 and 15 months old and the second dose at 4 to 6 years old. And infants traveling internationally should receive one of those early doses between 6 and 11 months old. Kyle.
Well, if anybody was curious what it was like to live in the past, we're getting a little taste of it, at least when it comes to epidemiology. Spencer Socher, thank you. A state board is postponing a decision on whether to ban food stamp recipients from spending that money on sugary drinks. This has been a priority of the governor lately. The state board heard testimony today for and against this idea. And so last year, the USDA approved a waiver for Colorado that was going to restrict SNAP benefit purchases for about 600,000 people on SNAP. Under those waivers, family couldn't use their SNAP benefits to purchase beverages with added sweeteners and less than 50% juice. Milk-based drinks, baby formula, water juice, those would still be eligible for purchase. Colorado's Board of Human Services held their final hearing about the restrictions today. They got mixed testimony for hours. Supporters of the waiver point to the health risks of sugary drinks. Critics argue that the restrictions unfairly limit choices for low-income families, and they question whether these restrictions would actually change people's shopping habits.
SNAP benefits do not cause people to buy more soda or other sugary beverages. And many SNAP participants almost always supplement their purchases with SNAP with purchases with cash. So they are still likely to purchase sugary beverages even with this waiver in place.
So board was supposed to vote on the waiver today. They delayed the vote until April after a full day of testimony and debate. They also hinted that further restrictions could be coming soon from the governor's office. A spokesperson for the governor told us that he's working on an executive order to, quote, increase healthy food access. For the third year in a row, state legislators have tried and failed to make it harder and slower for you to get access to public records. The bill's sponsors say they're trying to help government officers that are swamped with records requests. For a third year, advocates for transparency have won out. This has become something of an annual effort for Democratic State Senator Kathy Kipp, who represents Fort Collins. She had some Republicans on board as well. Kipp's latest proposal would have increased the number of days that governments have to respond to public records requests, giving agencies up to 10 days to turn over records. The proposal had support from local governments, school districts, public safety agencies, who say they're devoting more and more staff time to fulfilling overly broad public records requests. Critics, including government transparency advocates and media organizations, said the proposal is just one more way for government agencies to cover up records and keep the public in the dark.
As someone who works with reporters who file CORAs regularly, we already see the government agencies use these deadlines to take longer to provide public records. These are situations where it's not a wide net that's being cast or searching for something. It's searching for something very specific that's known to exist and be available.
That bill narrowly failed after drawing bipartisan opposition from legislators in committee today. The ones who voted against the bill said that they appreciated the intent, but they didn't want to give the impression that they're limiting government transparency. This is a pretty stunning failure for the proposal to go down so early in the process. Last year, similar bill cleared both the House and the Senate. Then it was vetoed by Governor Polis. Well, an investigation found what caused diesel fuel to get into regular gas tanks across the metro area. It was a human.
This is a manually operated valve that was improperly left open and sent diesel into that yellow gas tank.
So that gas from an HF Sinclair terminal in Commerce City ended up at 49 gas stations around the metro Denver area and one up in Wyoming. Now the state is fining the company $365,000, $1 for every gallon of contaminated fuel. The investigation report from HF Sinclair says they notified the impacted gas stations but did not alert state regulators, which is not illegal, but regulators, you know, would like to know. As part of the fine, Sinclair also had to change some practices, including 2 employees assigned to do that manual valve switching in the future. The money from the fine would go toward cleaning up old gas station sites for redevelopment. Sinclair has 10 days to respond. So 300 weeks ago, we made a deal right here that we were going to pool our $5 donations each week for some worthy cause, a nonprofit in Colorado. And honestly, I thought that we would be at this for a couple of months. This was during the pandemic. But you just never stopped giving. So we never stopped going. And here we are now on your 300th straight week of your Word of Thanks microgiving, having raised nearly $18 million for nonprofits across our state. This week, our 300th Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supports Salud Family Health clinics up and down the Front Range and their life-saving program with an awesome name. Butt Savers was the idea of docs who watched their patients with possible cancer symptoms go home to save up the cost of a copay for a colonoscopy. They were losing precious time when their cancer could be caught early and their life saved. So Butt Savers was born and funded out of those docs' own pockets at first. Think of it as almost like a colonoscopy scholarship to make sure that finances are not the reason that anybody is waiting for a screening that could save their life. I think Butt Savers is the perfect way to celebrate 300 weeks of microgiving because, just like Word of Thanks, it started with a couple of people who saw a need and decided they were going to do what was in their power to change it. I do not say this lightly, but what they have done at Salud through Butt Savers has saved lives. And I think that what you have done has saved lives. With your support of 300 causes around Colorado, from medical care to suicide prevention to gang intervention, it is meaningful work that you have done. So for the 300th time, let's do it together. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491. We'll send you that link to donate. You know the deal. Even $5 helps because a bunch of people participate. And I'll never ask you to give if I don't, so I'll match the first 50 donations of $5 to get us rolling. Almost $50,000 to each weekly campaign. Hey, last time it snowed in Denver, the Broncos still had their sights set on the Super Bowl, and that is not all that's changed since January. We're back with a word on a changed world since our last snow.
My good news of the day is that my flight was able to make it in this snowstorm.
Hey, we are going to end the week the way we always do. Set aside the headlines, make room for the good news in the lives of our neighbors. That's next. It's been a long time since there was meaningful snow in Denver. In fact, the last time I was standing outside with 76,000 of my closest friends, hoping that the Broncos could beat the Patriots and make the Super Bowl. That's a miserable memory. So to make a new miserable memory, we sent our Marshall Zellinger to stand outside in the cold at Mile High for no good reason tonight. But Marshall, 40 days is a long time. Life was different back then.
Yeah, but not enough time has really gone by for me to tell you how much the price of bread or a home has drastically changed. But compared to the last time the Broncos played in a semi-similar snowy situation as we have right now, compared to today, we found some significant milestones.
The scenery at Mile High is about the same as it was the last time it snowed in Denver on January 25th, when Bo Nix watched the AFC Championship game from the suite level, fresh off surgery from a broken ankle. Now he's walking again with a new baby. His wife Izzy shared these photos on Instagram this week.
The average price of mid-grade gas the last time it snowed, $2.72. Today, the average is $3.63. We're paying $3.97. On January 25th, Nikola Jokic was injured. Since then, he's had 7 triple-doubles, passed Oscar Robertson for second all-time in triple-doubles, which means he's coming after you, Russell Westbrook.
When it snowed 40 days ago in Denver, the Sundance Film Festival was still in Utah.
We're going to have so much opportunity next January to support our local small businesses.
Today, preparations are already happening for Sundance in Boulder.
On January 25th, the Colorado Rockies hadn't played a game. They weren't in last place. Today, they're in the middle of spring training, and guess what? They're not in last place.
When it snowed last year, Palantir, the artificial intelligence company known for its government surveillance contracts, had its headquarters in Denver in Cherry Creek North. Today, they're in a sunny suburb of Miami where the temperature is 80 degrees. On January 25th, no Coloradans had won a Winter Olympic medal yet. Today, 9 have gold, silver, or bronze. On January 25th, Matt Renew had not filed one report from Italy.
Michaela Schifrin.
Today, he can claim 61.
Reporting from the 2026 Winter Olympics in Italy, I'm Matt Renew, 9 News.
Thanks for tossing it back to me, Matt. Man, that's my jealousy showing. On January 25th, while the Broncos were playing here, 8th Avenue, the viaduct just south of where the Broncos want to build their new stadium, that's known as a 10-mile-per-hour old, needs-to-be-replaced bridge. Today, we have seen plans where the city and the Broncos want to bring it down to ground level and meander it around the brand new stadium. Kyle.
Lots happened in the last 40 days, Marshall, but can we go back? Can we go back to you at the gas station? All right, so Mid-grade gas, right? So there's the cheap gas that I buy, and then there is the expensive gas that the fancy people buy. I did not realize that anyone actually purchased the mid-grade gas.
I don't know that I ever have, but when I looked it up, the federal government tracks mid-grade gas, and I figured, just like you said, it's halfway between the people who actually fill up. Give them a good round average number.
Yeah, I watch people at the other pumps to see if anybody uses it. I've never seen anybody use it. Marshall Zellinger, thank you. You can find whatever you're looking for between the pages of a book. So, that's where we found this week's good news. It's next. Read a book to a kid. I promise you, it'll be the good news of your week. There's two. We stopped by Columbine Elementary in Denver today, where all kinds of folks came by to read a book, and we added a chapter with our favorite Friday question. What's your good news?
My name is Michael Atkins. I'm the Director of Black Student Success with Denver Public Schools. And my good news of the day is that we have community in a community school really supporting kids around mental health.
Fixes and flops.
Here we are celebrating mental health with our kids.
My good news of the day is that I'm moving into the neighborhood tomorrow.
This week is K-Tone's birthday bash. K-Tone is from the Park Hill community.
My good news of the day is my grandpa survived his heart surgery.
My good news is I did 21 jump ropes in a row.
Like I just did, missing that page.
Representation matters. The way I see kids look at individuals that they see as successful, that look like them, is emotional.
My good news of the day is that when my flight was able to make it in this snowstorm.
My good news of the day is I'm glad to be at school and that I'm glad that all y'all are here.
There's so many of us here today who grew here. People who went here, went to this school. My father went to this school. I used to play on this playground.
I love about reading that it helps us learn.
I learned that you had to be focused in class.
It's a revolving door. You can't just take, you also have to give.
And we are here to make sure that we give them the best chance at building an academic identity.
Well, I'm leaving now, bye.
It might be cold outside, but it's warm in here.
Great chapter of good news from our photojournalist Byron Reed. Even with the Winter Olympics over, perhaps you, like me, often find yourself thinking about Andorra. The tiny country in Europe failed to win its first Olympic medal despite our cheering. As next official underdog for the 2026 Games, they exceeded our expectations, and I exceeded the 30-day Amazon return window for the giant Andorran flag. So when a next viewer named Ray said he was headed for a ski vacation in Andorra and would love to take along our flags, are you kidding me, Ray? Go for it, baby. That's our big flag at the Women's World Cup ski event in Andorra. That is cool. I'm not even mad anymore the boss won't let me expense it. We had one of those little small Andorran flags too, and that now lives in Ms. Gusdorf's classroom at El Dorado Academy, or El Dorado Elementary School in Highlands Ranch, where her English language learners like to stay connected to the world. That's our old Icelandic flag too. You're looking top right, everybody. Top right, Andorra and Iceland. If next makes it to the year 2028, we will pick another Olympic underdog, and you guys can have those flags too. Back with your feedback next. Finish with feedback from Kathy, who says, yo, Kyle, I have a 2019 Subaru that requires mid-grade gas. She says your research is lacking that no one uses it. Are you really supposed to use the kind of gas that's specified in the vehicle manual? I always thought that was like a scam or a suggestion, because my truck says you're supposed to put the fancy gas in it, but I give it the cheap gas because, you know what, if it wanted fancy gas, it should have gone to a fancy family. Am I an idiot? That's going to get clipped on the internet. We'll see you next time.